This is Personal Brand Blueprint with me, your host, Dave Polikoff, where I sit down with proven experts who've built successful personal brands to break down how they did it. So you know the exact blueprint on how to build a personal brand that attracts attention, builds trust, and converts your dream clients online. We get super specific. I'm talking real-time feedback on what social channels to be on, what marketing strategies to implement, and what content is capturing and converting the most attention on social. Now, let's get into the show. When you're describing what you do to those people so that they can have that realization, how do you describe it to them?
Well, I go and I talk with them about, what is it I'm doing? I said, you understand organizational change management? Yeah, and everybody gets allergic. I said, exactly. And the reason why it doesn't work is because it doesn't focus on you, right? And let me ask you this. I'll ask you, Dave. Have you ever been taught how to manage personal change for yourself?
No, I've not.
Exactly. Thank God. I can do a brow right
Let's
because
skip that class. Yeah.
thousands of people I asked the same question to, and no one said yes. So what I did was I created the first model for you. How do you process your feelings? We get scared, don't we? Yeah. So scared is looking at your feelings and making an information-based decision versus an assumption. But you can't stop there. So what? What's your plan? What are you going to do? So everyday pub speak, yeah, you can be scared. Fine. Feel it. Feel that out. Reflect on that. Get some information. Ask a friend so that you're not making assumptive decision making. So that's what I do. I certify people. We're backed by ITAL, backed by the Oxford Review at Oxford University. We're backed by CPD Global. So I put validation and accreditation behind it. 2 books came out. TED Talks came out as well too. So we've got a lot to verify it works. And then I put it into technology. How do I enable people to manage change from the palm of their hand? So they get it out of their mind and actually into something we can hold that's concrete. And so they're like, oh, okay. Well, so they get it. So they're like, so you're nothing about sales. It's great that you're a sales transformation doc. A, those are big words we don't understand, but you're
Right.
the change doctor. So 2 times now, listening to the voice of my customer. One said, stop advertising scared. So what? Start advertising Dr. Grant. That story. And the other one said, yeah, sales transformation. You're the personal change doc.
Well, I want to double click on this because I feel we sometimes kind of lock ourselves in a room and go like, who am I? And we
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
whiteboard and try to really brand ourselves. But I find, I always say like doctors need doctors, therapists need therapists because we can be, and marketers need marketers. Like we can be so good at something ourselves, but it's very difficult to sometimes reflect on ourselves and brand ourselves and market
Yeah.
ourselves from, because it really does take that outside opinion. And so in this case, it was your audience that was able to provide you the feedback that you needed instead of you
Yeah.
kind of racking your brain around it.
Well, and you're so right, Dave, and you're absolutely right. Doctors need doctors, therapists need therapists, etc. Coaches need coaches. So I'm a certified coach. I need coaching. I've had executive coaching for 8 years. I'm a doctor. I need doctors to help me. Yesterday, I went and and this is about leading vulnerability. I really do live what I teach. So transformational leadership is about coaching and being vulnerable. And so yesterday, I went and had a business meeting with a colleague who's 40-year veteran in procurement. So he knows how to get into FedEx, DHL, Google, Microsoft through the buying channels, right? Who's actually going to do the contracts, etc. And I sat with him and he goes, "How can I help you, doc?" And I said, "Well, I need help in selling my business." And he went, "Excuse me? You're a doctor of sales."
hmm
And I said, "Yes, I did the psychology and I did the research and I get all of that, but I'm too in it. I'm too into my company. I've designed everything from the ground up. I've bootstrapped the company, and I'm too into it. So I know from the get-go I'm too blinded of how would a salesperson actually go and just sell this. Not with all the passion, not with all the what I think it is, not with all the pomp and circumstance, not with all the Forbes, the Fortune, the Wall Streets, not with all of that I'm trying to package it all in. How would you sell this?" And I said, "I need your help to do that." And he thought, "Good on you."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, well, you know what? I am smart enough to know that I'm too close to this. And how many founders are there? Go find someone else and say, how do you see it? And so when we're talking about personal branding, I could do the whiteboards, and that's what we've been taught to do, right? Let's get into just a room, throw it up there, and let's throw some logos. And which one do you identify with? Now let's play the values game. Here's some values on the cards. Which ones are yours? Just go have a real conversation with the person you're trying to attract.
And I feel like that's a lot of people who are also maybe early in their careers, transitioning into coaching, consultant, et cetera. And maybe they don't have a refined offer yet. And they
Yeah,
kind of know what they're doing because they're coming from corporate and
yeah.
they're making that transition, but they don't know how to package it into like an offer.
It's
Sometimes,
exactly where I was, my friend.
yeah.
You know,
Well, talk
20,
us through that because, yeah, you
26
have,
years in corporate. I was the entrepreneur inside using the resources of the, giant multi-billion dollar industry. And as soon as you go out on your own, you're like, all those connections have just dried up. Now what are you going to do?
I don't have a marketing team, a sales
I have no
team.
marketing team, no sales team, no IT team, no web funnel team, no funnel building lead, no inbound, no outbound. All that's gone. It's just you. But do you believe enough in yourself? And if you are, then be vulnerable enough to go ask people, how do you see, or how do you see me? Because you can waste a lot of time in whiteboards, a lot of time, and
I'm
a lot of
staring at one
marketing
right here.
resources. Yeah, there you go.
I got one right behind
Yeah.
me. Yeah. But you have a really fun story about how you differentiate it because this is another thing too, is people get into business, coach, consultant, in the kind of the coaching practice and consulting practice where they want to know, am I the business or am I putting up a logo and a brand name and that's the business and I'm I'm under that, but
Hmm.
when I go to post content, is it under my name? Is it under the brand's name? Am I a logo or am I a person? And that's kind of the difference between personal branding and kind of branding for your business. You had a strong realization of this. Can you kind of walk us through what that was?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a strong realization because I have a company called Scared So What Limited. The model was Scared So What. That's what all of my research was, and that's what I created, which is the world's first personal change management model and then technology system. And so I was going out to customers with Scared So What branding, brochures, collateral, website. I'm fully branded. I can do this. I know how to do this. I watched the marketing teams. I worked with them enough in the big giant corporations for years. But what I found out is that, yeah, I'm unique. There's no one in the world doing it. But while you think that that's wonderful and that's your hoorah moment, you also realize very quickly it's hard as heck for people to translate. You want me to be scared? So what? Huh? Personal change management, what? We don't speak that way, and we haven't spoke that way. Organizational change management's been around for 100 years. So you're coming in on day 2 on a Tuesday thinking you're talking about being scared and so what and how you're going to help us transform our business and change is going to be success. What are you talking about? So it was with a customer of mine and she's a smart woman. She was ex Corn Ferry, senior partner for years. She went out on her own, pulled in over 2 million in revenue just the first year. I mean, she's just brilliant. And she said, "I love what you do." We had a long conversations about Scared So What and how we don't really advocate for psychometrics because it's a measure of a person's one moment in time. And that's what's put on a piece of paper or digital and sent around. This is who this person is. Never mind, were they stuck on the tube that morning? Did they was the dog sick? Did they get to the veterinarian? Did they have a babysitter? But that test they took was their life, and that's how they'll always be measured. So she didn't believe in that, and I don't either. Um, but she believed in Scared So What. And she said, if we can actually help people through the recruiting phase and the transition phase, then we can empower them with a brand new skill set. And but I can't take Scared So What, your brand, into my luxury global executive research firm. People are going to look at me like I have 3 heads. She said, what I want to do is bring you. And I went, well, that's what we're doing. I'm scared so what? And I realized that I'm not scared so what. And she said, you're Dr. Grant. So what I want you to do is let's go over here now. I want to buy drgrant.com and I'm going to put my marketing team and we're going to brand the Dr. Grant website. And you're going to be the authority figure with academia, your fellowships, your Forbes, your Fortunes, your Wall Streets, all of your TED Talk, all of that stuff. But that's who people in these business realms will want to speak to. And then what you happen to have is Scared So What? The tool, which is a separate company, right? And it's the resources. So I would say to you, to all those people, whether you're doing coaching, because I'm also a coach and I do executive coaching as well too, but I don't lead with that now, not now. I lead with, I'm Dr. Grant, your personal change doctor. And I have the resources and the wherewithal and the background and experience and the uniqueness to actually help you make change succeed. Something that I just launched last week was the cost of change and engagement failure calculator. How do you as a business actually, or do you even calculate the cost of failed change? Because I can tell you that it's 2.3 trillion is the cost annually of failed change initiatives globally. But what does that mean to you and your organization? Well, now you can actually calculate it. So it helps. You've got all these tools and whistles, whether you're a coach, whether you have a product or a service or something. That's not you. You're unique. So how do you brand you first? And then you have these tools, these support mechanisms to support your offerings. And it took a customer to actually make me understand that.
I think it's so important because I talk to so many multi-passionate entrepreneurs and they don't really know what their North Star is. And I think once you kind of do finalize that in terms of like, I am the blank of blank, it's not that you have to like pigeonhole yourself into like, okay, well, I'm the blank of blank coach and
Yeah.
like that's my thing. But if you can have multiple kind of products and offerings that
Yeah.
are various ways of adding value outside of just your time for coaching, for example. Like you have
Yeah.
tech products, you have the app, you have the calculator, you have consulting, you have the firm. So I think it's so important because I feel like people don't want to get pigeonholed into like, well, then I'm just going to be a coach my whole life on this thing, but I really love building products. And I'm like, well, you can still do that, but it should be within the
Mhm.
umbrella of your why, your North Star, your thing, your brand.
Well, yeah, and don't be afraid to learn something new. I'm 54, and I don't even proclaim to know half of anything important. I know a smidgen about personal change, and that's fine, and people want to listen. Right now, I'm the only one talking about it, so that's a good place to be. What would you call that? A USP, so unique selling point. Um, but just because you're a coach, you think that's all you're going to be. Maybe you're an author too. Maybe you want to write about it. Maybe reach out to. I just had this happen right before you and I came on. A lady from America. She reached out to me. She said, "I want to write a book. You've done that. How did you do it?" You know, have the courage to pick up a book and look at the person's name, then go look at them in LinkedIn and say, "I like what you do. How did you do that?" You look at Mel Robinson, who's a worldwide motivational speaker, book writer, you name it, motivational guru, etc. 5, 10 years ago, she was completely bankrupt and broke, had all the bills, etc. But she found her own way to do something, to get up and do something different and new. And she started out just by posting videos. And then she found that she could write about the experiences as well too, and people are interested in that. So you're right. I've got a lot of different bells and whistles that we have that I've packaged in with Scared So What. But now that I'm seeing that, well, wait a minute, I'm actually Dr. Grant. I'm who I am. And what does that look like? Well, did you know I have a 2-day transformational leadership workshop, which is still very unique because it focuses on the foundations of leadership, not the pretty little things that everybody else talks about up here. We actually talk about what is the base. That's a course product. I have online, curriculums, the LMS programs as well too. So people get lost in trying to find who they are, that you can spend so much time. We talked about it just a while ago. The whiteboards, the marketing team, and I did this a couple weeks ago with my leader who's helping me with marketing. We pulled out the whiteboards, the paper, you name it, and we started drawing circles and prints and squares and how do you fill in all the blanks and what are the intersections? I had to stop her. I just went, I have a story to tell, and she's like, tell me. And then she started writing. And then she held it up. Again, what I'm finding unique here is you have a lot to say. Go say it to your customer. Go say it to a friend. Go say it to a colleague and let them show you how they see you. Because that perspective, we get so blind in our own views looking in the mirror. How do other people see us? That can be very enlightening. And the answer is probably there.
It's probably much different than what you'll come to the conclusion on alone in your room trying to master it
Yeah.
or asking ChatGPT or something to figure it out for you.
Oh, I love this. And yes, I've been very guilty of ChatGPT. That's my friend.
Yeah, that's our number one cheapest business partner.
Exactly. That's so
Yeah.
true. So true.
I think OpenAI is going to start asking for some equity in these businesses based on all the sales strategies and business strategies
Hmm.
that ChatGPT hands out.
Well, and that's the hard part being an academic, right? Because half the stuff I look, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not right. That's the wrong citation. Let's go.
Mm.
But, it's getting there. It's a lot better than what it used to be. But you do need, that's why universities are saying you need to actually be able to find, the true statements, the true factual statements, and the citations and information. But in everyday use, gosh, it just simplifies. It so simplifies. Quick messaging, quick thinking, quick communication strategies, the agents. Now we're entering into the era of agentic AI, which is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I've got that working right now, helping to build out different things. So, um, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of fear around AI, and I keep telling people, and that's probably my problem. I should be coaching people because when we tell, it's transactional. There's no ownership. But when you share with people that it's not it's not that AI will take your job. It's the person that learns it. That person that learns and reinvents themselves through that and is no longer scared of it and they see what they can do, they now can go modify it or they can go create, they can ideate, they can actually add to the conversation. That's the person that's going to steal your job.
And people, I think there's my biggest worry with AI is that it's a lot of information, but I think people lean too much on trying to gather information and not spend enough time implementing things, implementation on things.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's probably a lot of people at home that are like info gathering and bouncing back and forth on with AI, but the actual execution of like going and creating that piece of content or building that business or doing the things that they're like ruminating on with AI, it
Mm-hmm.
feels good. It feels like you're making progress because you created that document or whatever, but
Yeah.
then no one knows about it because you don't actually go and create that video or, build that business. You just feel smarter because you have AI in your pocket.
Well, and newsflash, it's a false sense. It truly is a false sense, and I can say that out of age and experience. I'm really glad that I grew up on the age before the internet, and it won't be long. There's not going to be many years that people can say that. But having done that, the ability to go out and articulate and talk and play and have conversations and have to actually think with true facial expressions in front of people, that I believe is going to be a lost art if we don't change ourselves. So you see it today with the generations just buried in the phone. It's the fast scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And then you have to actually look up and go, whoa, what the hell just happened? 3 hours are gone. That went too quickly. And what I'm trying to say is that whether it's AI or social media or communication, step back and look up. Have a conversation just like you and I are. It can be virtual, can be whatever, but the very fact that I get to see your face and your expressions means that we bounce articulation off of each other. The art of converting, and conversing with each other and being able to bounce expression back, that's going to get lost really fast.
We're
And if
finding it
you,
already. There's a
oh,
whole wave of like, I don't want to call out a whole generation, but like the Gen
mm,
A or Z, one of them. Um,
XYZ
Yeah, one of
squared,
the lower
squared.
ones, the earlier, the younger ones. Um, there's a whole kind of trend going around. It's called like the Gen Z stare, and
Mm.
it's this idea that like as you try to communicate with them in real life, they have a difficult time kind of like
There's almost
verbalizing.
nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I think I my thoughts on it are that they're just so used to communicating over text message where you can stop and think and analyze the text you just got and then think of your response and all that. And in real life, real time communication and expression as you're saying,
Hmm.
isn't as prevalent anymore because it's DMs and text
It's a lot.
messages.
Let me give you one further. I saw yesterday. This was on YouTube. A gentleman who was doing a whole video series on what AI can do, and I was sitting there. Here goes another one. Here we go. Some of them I listen to because I want to play myself. Right. I don't want to be left behind. I love to learn. But he said, yes, and now you can have AI. This system will respond to all of your LinkedIn messages. It'll write all the emails for you. And I thought, danger, Will Robinson. And half the people wouldn't even know what that just meant. But,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, danger. I had an AI service that I used a couple months ago. I wanted to better farm my LinkedIn capabilities to try to find customers, right? And it used an AI service. It built three different emails out, and it was going to automate them. And I had to look and approve the first ones, and then it went off. And this company was like, "Oh, out of California, we've got this down. We're going to test it with you, Dr. Grant." And I said, "That's great, thank you." A few days later, I came in and I had thousands of response in my inboxes, and I started, what the heck? And I started reading some of them. Well, that's a lie. I would never say that. That's not factual. That's not true. That's not what we do. It just was wrong. And I rang them up and I said, "You turn that off now." "Oh, but the test." I go, "Now. Turn it off now." And I wonder how many businesses or coaches or leaders or companies just let that run,
Mhm.
because that will destroy the authenticity of who I am. One wrong email going to a C-suite leader, and it's a promise or a factual statement or a numeric. "We can save you 89% of change failure." I saw that once and I thought, dear God, take that down. But you know what? Those skills are going to be gone soon. Um, and there has to be something about doing the research yourself. And I think we go back to personal brand of what we initially started out with. Who are you? What do you want to be known for? And can you leave the whole risk of your identity to AI? Go ahead. See how that works for you. You
Mhm.
know, if you're younger, great. The nice thing is you might have a few years that you can let those embarrassments go by, and people will forget really fast because the distraction. People are so distracted in seconds. People's attention spans are just like a gnat. Everywhere. Um, but if you try to do that in starting a business, and you get one or two wrong emails to a potential C-suite customer, wow, you could do a lot of damage to yourself. So personal branding. Who are you? What do you want to be known for? You can do the work yourself to find it out, but you're best off, I'm finding, to just go speak to people. Who are your potential customers? How do they see you? And what do they want of you? What is the services that they want from you and think that you can provide? You
Mhm.
know, that can help you to identify that you have so much more to give. Does that make
Love it.
sense?
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day too, when you talk about brand AI usage and maybe disinformation, like incorrect information that I could provide you is one thing, but also if people, if and when they catch on that you're using AI in those responses, what is that doing to your brand too? It's like, oh, I thought I was
Damaging
talking
you.
to the real person this whole time, or oh, is this how you run your business? It's just some AI
Yeah.
bot in the background. You're supposed to be a coach, consultant, advisor, but are you just going to run some AI bot for all
Yeah.
of your advisement? So it gets into some fishy arena.
Well, there.
It's good at automating some things for us,
Yeah.
but at what point do you want to make sure that you're not automating a step that's actually going to devalue your brand?
Still put your name and your mark on it. Remember, every email, every message that goes out is you, is a
Yeah.
representation. Who was it? Just Deloitte, was it? Forgive me if I have this wrong, Deloitte. But I think it was. Had a bid for a bid, did a big job for the UK government. I want to say £500,000, and they used AI throughout the whole thing,
Mm,
and the government was furious. You're supposed to be the source of information, and none of this was factually correct.
damn.
Shocking,
Yeah.
shocking. How damaging that could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think AI is acts as a consultant, it can act as a strategist. And so people are replacing their consulting strategy coaching efforts with that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's just watering down kind of industries. And so, I say we're in a trust recession and the new currency is proof. So, like, how do
Yeah.
we showcase that this is us, that we actually do have this information and we can execute against information? So, like, we
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can get information from AI, but then it's like,
Yeah.
how do we synthesize that and help you do something
Mm-hmm.
better? But it can't be, we need to be in the pathway. It can't just be
It
AI
still has to be
pushing,
human. Yeah.
you know.
I think that's the thing we forget is you can develop all of this technology, but who's it supposed to serve? The technology? It's
Yeah.
actually we're building it to serve ourselves.
Yeah.
And so if we can keep that in point, the day we give up and just say, "Oh, well the AA is in charge," well then the movies have just come true.
Yeah,
Um,
Wally.
you know, um, and I love what you just said, about information based. At the heart of what I built, Scared, So What, is about finding and making an informed decision versus succumbing to fear, worry, and an assumption and making an assumptive decision. And too many people are doing that. You know, I think that's my mission, and I'm going to keep that very authentic. I will put AI. The next thing we're moving in is to put AI into our Scared So What app, but that will be on the so what side, and it will be built with all of our publications, my books, the theses, all of the supporting guiding evidence to be the world's first personal change AI coach of
Right.
what you can do and build your own plan. So you'll still drive it. It'll still be your thoughts. It'll still be your assessments on how you feel about change, but the AI would there be the enabler of what could you do about it. So
Hmm.
I'm going there, but I'm going very, very intently.
And it's your strategies, it's your frameworks that are
Exactly.
are the source of the
The source.
algorithm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just left everywhere else to chance.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into a couple things that are going to be around your personal brand. We talked about how you launched it or discovered that that's something that you need to be focused on. So, I want to derive a couple questions that are going to inspire some good social content because we're all about social content here.
Okay.
So, what is one book that changed your outlook on business?
That book has to be from Dr. Philip Squire. He's a genius. So it's called Selling Transformed. Dr. Philip Squire. He's the CEO of Consalia Sales Business School. And Selling Transformed, that's where I went to the master's program. It's all about selling in the way customers want to be sold to, not selling just for the sake of it, and not product dumping, not agenda based. It's values based, it's mindset based. So he did his research on global sales and he went and interviewed hundreds of CEOs around the world. And he said, what percentage of salespeople are actually successful in their jobs? And the shocking result at the end of all that global research was less than 10% of salespeople are actually successful at achieving their jobs. The other 90% are a complete waste of time. And I thought, gosh, what is it? And it was the mindsets, it was the values, it was the over arrogantness, it was the product dumping, all of the things that have been taught to us for years from the 1980s, the consultative tips and tricks to manipulate conversations, always be closing, close, close, close. In essence, in what I've done in my own research, paramount to from Dr. Phil in his book, but his is the foundation. My research was to actually focus on the art of selling is to impose change. Think about it. If a salesperson comes up to you, they have an agenda. They have something they want to sell. And they're going to take 15 minutes of their time, sometimes 30, and they're going to sell, 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 sell to you. Because that's what we've been taught to do. What you've just done is dumped your change on me. And since you don't know how to manage change for yourself, there's no way in heck you're going to be successful at forcing me to buy what you want me to. And once we realize that, that's where the aha moment is. So his book is the start. So Selling Transformed by Dr. Philip Squire, it's available on Amazon. You read his first, and then you read my book, Transforming Sales Management. Lead your sales teams through change, because that's the empowering moment. Salespeople are just constantly entrenched and changed from the pressures from the organization and the pressures of modern customers. How do you lead through that? If you learn how to be a human and humanize the sales approach, you then all of a sudden learn how to invite the customer in to the process. And that's where you win.
It reminds me of one of the first startups I was at. We had this huge. I was employee number three, went to 103 employees, and probably over the summer, and we had a huge sales floor and all these big, ring the gong sales
Mm-hmm.
guys and
Guru.
one of
Yeah.
those boiler room sales teams and all that stuff. But then there was one guy who wasn't that style, but he did really well in sales. And like when you ask him, how are you doing it? And he's just like, I just become friends with them. I just
Yeah.
talk to them like they're a person and have conversation. I don't come across salesy. I just relate to them and connect. And then eventually they're like, you know what? I like you. Like I feel comfortable with you. What
Yeah.
are you
I don't feel
selling?
that you're trying to pressure me. What
Yeah,
is it you do? You usually get to the conversation. So what do you do? I do
right.
this. You think you could use that? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, oh well, I don't need it.
Well, exactly. And when I was at the cruise line, when I was in charge of sales transformation, my mission was to teach people to have those conversations so that, you know, 9 times out of 10, people don't need our product or our service. They have an idea of a holiday or a vacation experience, etc. But until you find out who the people are and what their values are, or what inspires them, you might find out that our cruise brand is not for them. And people don't understand that. Be so authentic in your sales approach that if you don't have what they need, go help them find it somewhere else. Because then they'll
Mm,
remember you and they'll
yeah.
tell everybody about you. And then they'll want to come back and say, well, how can I be your customer?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
What's one quote that changed the way you see business?
The way I see business. Well, in the world that I'm in right now, this is something I say quite often. Change is constant, it's personal. How you manage it makes it bearable and achievable. And that gets me into a really good conversation about change. And that's mine. That's something I've said for quite a long time. I wrote it in my books, and I do believe it. It is constant and it is personal. What people have been saying is change is constant, but then they go right into organizational change, and I'm like, stop! You've gone the wrong direction. You have to talk about the people first. And what we fail to understand is that in any global or business or small brand, whatever it is, any change initiative, you need the people to actually execute your change. So if your change process doesn't involve how they feel, stand by. Just might as well just throw your money in the trash because that's where it's going.
Now we're gonna play a little game here, scale of 1 to 10. How important were some of these
Mm.
things in growing your personal brand, in attracting attention into your business? So I'll say something, you give a scale 1 to 10, one being the least important, 10 being the most important. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important were these to growing your personal brand and why? Writing a book,
That's in the middle. I would say about a six.
why is
Yeah,
that?
it's important, but I think there are other things that are more important first before you actually go and write that book. I've done 2 books now, countless journal articles and publications. It's an important step in your life, so I put it up there. Um, but there are things I think that are more important that you have to do first before you do that. About finding your voice, how do you find your voice before you actually go start to write it down?
In-person networking events.
That has to be number one. So what would you, 10? 10. Is that the highest? Yeah. There you go. 10. 10, 10, tens across the board. You know why? Because that skill set is falling. It's falling away every day. We just talked about that, at great length. The skill set of having conversations. So again, writing a book, if you can't talk to people, nobody's going to want to read what you have to write. So get the stories correct first and be able to practice that articulation. Listen to others, you know, observe their facial expressions, observe their demeanor, observe their poise and presence, and how passionate are they about the things that they're talking about. And then what can you add to the conversation? There's a lovely lady, Nancy Klein. She wrote a book called Time to Think. And she will tell you in her research, it's the person that's quiet in the room that you really should be paying attention to. Because that's the person who's being smart and observant of everybody else. The person who is talking the loudest, yeah, that's going to be your pep rally person. You need them. You need them to rah rah your story. But they might not have all the best ideas.
I love that. What about posting on social media?
That has to be up there. I mean, that's part of the in-person networking. If you're not finding your voice in social media today, then you're becoming very quickly irrelevant. So I would give that 7, 8, somewhere in there. Yeah. I do that before the book because you can use social media as your litmus test before you go write the book. Because you can write articles, LinkedIn, write articles. They're short and sweet, etc. Did anybody like it?
Are people
If they
resonating with
did,
this?
if they
Yeah,
did, then save that. Save that as part of your content for your book.
right. This next one I want to is called Finish the Hook. And I'm going to say a hook, you repeat it, and then finish the sentence. The point here is I give you the hook so that it's the lead into the video. And the hook is if I had to start my personal brand from scratch, here's the one thing I would focus on.
Good Lord, I didn't know I was going back to school. This is fun. Okay, so if I had to start my personal brand from scratch, here's one thing I would focus on. I would focus on leading with myself, not my products, not my services. Very much because of the conversation we just had. You know, focus on me. Who am I? What do I want to be known for? How do my customers see me? What value do they think that I can bring, right? Before and above my products and services. And I think this works for not just individuals or consultants or experts, but also for companies as well too. Go out before you do the big huge marketing pitch and the full brand strategy, etc. Go ask customers, you know, how do you see us? What do we mean to you? Do we mean anything to you? What part of your life have we played, you know? And I think if I had to start over, I wished I would have found that faster. Focus on yourself. Remember the conversation we just had about my customer saying, no, 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 not scared, so what? Dr. Grant, that's where you lead. That leads you into coaching, that leads you into keynote speaking, that leads you into XXXXX. So I was like, wow, you can find so much more about focusing on yourself when you ask others.
And to that point, too, you mentioned brands needing to do that as well. I mean, one of the big ones is Cracker Barrel, who had a big
Oh,
overhaul
I
of their
saw
brand.
that. One of my favorite restaurants in the world. I only get to go there when I go back to the States, and that's like
Mm.
once a year. And yeah, what did you do?
And they just
You
ripped
lost
out all of the heart
the
that
soul.
people really
Yeah,
enjoyed about the restaurants. Yeah.
yeah. That was
So,
we would call it, I'm originally from Kansas, and we would call that, you ripped out the country. You know, that's the
yeah.
country in us. And you know what? You can't, people are in a quick race to try and correct things of the past. But those markers are there for a reason. So some things you will never want to repeat, and some things you will long for and wish that we could go back to a gentler time. But to wipe them out and just to say we're going to start over brand new and everybody has to like it, there you go. That's another perfect example of a forced change,
Yeah.
organizational change. It doesn't work.
Love it. Well, Grant, this is awesome. If people want to learn more about you, catch your book, see these products that you got coming out, where can they go?
Um, Easy, two places. You can start with learning more about me at drgrant.com. I learned that just not too long ago. So go there. Everything is there. Or to our webpage, scaredsowhat.com as well, too. Please follow me on LinkedIn, Dr. Grant Van Elbrick. So I would love to connect with you. And I hope I get to see you again. Dave, I might be having you on my show. The Dr. Grant show is going to be starting in 2026.
There we
So
go. Everyone, yeah, I'll make sure to leave a link for that as well.
fantastic. That'll be great.
All right, Grant, thanks so much for being on.
My pleasure. See you soon.